The first soccer ball that rolled across the grass at Camp Pine Bluff, Arkansas, in July 1943, seemed like a hallucination to Obergefreiter Klaus Weber, a Wehrmacht veteran who had been captured in Tunisia 6 months earlier. The young German soldier stared in disbelief as American guards organized teams for an international match between prisoners and their captors, complete with referees, spectators, and post-game refreshments. "They want us to play football against them?" Weber whispered to his bunkmate, Feldwebel Hans Richter, as they watched American soldiers setting up goalposts on a perfectly maintained field within the prison compound. "This must be some kind of trap or psychological experiment. No one treats enemy prisoners this way." These were hardened veterans of the Wehrmacht, who had been indoctrinated to expect brutal treatment, forced labor, and systematic degradation at the hands of their American captors. The concept of recreational sports between enemies seemed to violate every assumption about prisoner of war treatment and military protocol they had ever learned. They had no way of knowing they were about to participate in the most extraordinary sports program in military prison history, or that these soccer matches would become a powerful tool of cultural diplomacy that would fundamentally change German perceptions of American character and democratic values forever. If you want to discover more incredible stories of how unexpected humanity transformed enemies into friends during World War II, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Captain Robert Morrison, commanding officer of Camp Pine Bluff, Arkansas, watched his guards set up soccer goals on the newly constructed athletic field, implementing a recreational program that challenged every conventional approach to prisoner of war management. As a former college athlete who understood sports' power to bridge cultural divides, Morrison believed that organized athletics could achieve rehabilitation objectives that traditional detention methods could never accomplish. The soccer program that Morrison established at Camp Pine Bluff represented revolutionary thinking about prisoner treatment that exceeded Geneva Convention requirements, while demonstrating American commitment to humanitarian values that distinguished democratic society from totalitarian alternatives. The weekly matches between German prisoners and American guards would become a model replicated across POW camps throughout the United States. The athletic facilities that American engineers constructed within the prison compound included regulation soccer fields, equipment storage areas, and spectator seating that provided dignity and respect for both participants and observers. These investments demonstrated American abundance and organizational priorities that challenged German assumptions about enemy capabilities and democratic values. Obergefreiter Klaus Weber, a former amateur footballer from Munich, initially viewed the soccer program with suspicion and confusion that reflected Wehrmacht indoctrination about American brutality and decadence. The invitation to participate in recreational sports with enemy guards seemed impossible to reconcile with Nazi propaganda about democratic societies that allegedly treated prisoners as slave labor. The team organization that American officials facilitated included prisoner-elected captains, democratic selection of starting lineups, and fair officiating that demonstrated respect for German organizational capabilities while maintaining security requirements. This collaborative approach contradicted German expectations about authoritarian camp management and coercive prisoner treatment. The equipment provision that Americans supplied included professional quality soccer balls, uniforms, cleats, and goal nets that exceeded sporting goods availability in wartime Germany. This material abundance reflected American industrial capabilities and humanitarian priorities that challenged German understanding of democratic resource allocation during wartime conditions. The first match between German prisoners and American guards took place on July 15, 1943, before an audience that included camp personnel, local civilians, and International Red Cross observers who documented this unprecedented example of sports diplomacy. The game ended in a 2-1 victory for the German team, establishing competitive credibility that enhanced program legitimacy. The cultural exchange that soccer matches facilitated included post-game discussions between opponents who discovered shared interests in athletics, family life, and civilian careers that transcended national boundaries and military conflict. These personal connections humanized former enemies while demonstrating universal values that Nazi ideology had attempted to suppress. The psychological impact on German prisoners included recognition that American guards treated them as human beings worthy of respect and dignity rather than defeated enemies deserving punishment. This realization challenged fundamental assumptions about democratic character, while creating cognitive dissonance with Nazi propaganda about American society. The recreational scheduling that camp administrators established included weekly matches, seasonal tournaments, and special holiday games that provided structure and anticipation that enhanced prisoner morale while demonstrating systematic American commitment to humanitarian treatment. These activities created positive routine that contrasted sharply with expected prison brutality. The medical benefits that athletic participation provided included improved physical fitness, mental health enhancement, and social interaction that facilitated psychological recovery from combat trauma and captivity stress. American medical personnel documented health improvements that validated sports therapy as legitimate rehabilitation methodology. The security benefits that soccer programs achieved included improved prisoner behavior, reduced escape attempts, and enhanced cooperation with camp administration that demonstrated how positive treatment could achieve better security outcomes than punitive approaches. The games became symbols of American wisdom in prisoner management that challenged traditional military detention concepts. Sergeant Tommy O'Sullivan, a first-generation Irish-American from Boston, laced up his cleats before the weekly soccer match against the German prisoners, still amazed that his military service had evolved from combat operations to athletic competition with former enemies. As team captain for the American Guards, O'Sullivan had discovered that sports could achieve mutual understanding that formal diplomacy could never accomplish. The team dynamics that developed between American guards and German prisoners reflected shared athletic traditions that transcended national boundaries and military conflict. Soccer provided common ground, where competition could coexist with respect, while demonstrating universal human values that Nazi ideology had attempted to suppress through racial superiority propaganda. The language barriers that initially complicated team communication gradually dissolved as players developed soccer-specific vocabulary and nonverbal communication that enabled effective collaboration during matches. German prisoners taught American guards technical skills while learning American coaching methods that emphasized teamwork and individual creativity within systematic approaches. Feldwebel Hans Richter, a former Bundesliga semi-professional from Hamburg, found himself coaching American guards in advanced soccer techniques while receiving instruction in American football strategies that emphasized athletic versatility and systematic preparation. These exchanges created mutual respect based on recognized expertise that challenged stereotypes about national athletic capabilities. The competitive intensity that characterized prisoner guard matches included genuine effort to win while maintaining sportsmanship that demonstrated how serious competition could coexist with personal respect. German prisoners discovered that American guards possessed athletic abilities and competitive spirit that contradicted Nazi propaganda about democratic weakness and physical decadence. The officiating procedures that camp administrators established included neutral referees, consistent rule enforcement, and dispute resolution mechanisms that demonstrated fairness and systematic justice that German prisoners had not expected from enemy captors. These procedural safeguards created trust that extended beyond athletic activities to general camp administration. The spectator participation that soccer matches attracted included local civilians, military personnel, and international observers who witnessed unprecedented cooperation between former enemies. These audiences documented cultural exchange that challenged conventional assumptions about prisoner treatment, while demonstrating American confidence in democratic values and humanitarian principles. The skill development that regular matches facilitated included technical improvement for both German and American players who learned from each other's playing styles and tactical approaches. German prisoners shared European football traditions, while American guards introduced athletic training methods that emphasized conditioning and systematic skill development. The psychological transformation that athletic participation achieved included reduced hostility between guards and prisoners who discovered shared humanity through competitive sports that emphasized merit-based recognition rather than military rank or national origin. The soccer field became neutral territory where individuals could interact as athletes rather than enemies. The cultural education that matches provided included American exposure to European soccer traditions and German understanding of American athletic philosophy that emphasized participation, fair play, and personal development through competitive sports. These exchanges broadened perspectives for participants who had previously encountered only propaganda about enemy society. The therapeutic benefits that soccer participation provided included stress relief, physical exercise, and social interaction that enhanced mental health for prisoners struggling with combat trauma and captivity anxiety. American medical personnel documented psychological improvements that validated recreational therapy as legitimate treatment methodology. The disciplinary improvements that athletic programs achieved included reduced behavioral problems, enhanced cooperation with camp rules, and voluntary participation in work programs that demonstrated how positive treatment could achieve better security outcomes than punitive approaches. Soccer had become a tool for successful prisoner management. The international recognition that Camp Pine Bluff's soccer program received included visits from Red Cross officials, military observers, and diplomatic personnel who documented innovative approaches to prisoner treatment that exceeded international standards while demonstrating democratic humanitarian values through concrete actions rather than political rhetoric. October 1943. The announcement of the first intercamp soccer tournament created unprecedented excitement among German prisoners across Arkansas, Texas, and Oklahoma as teams prepared for competition that would determine the unofficial POW soccer championship of the American Southwest. Obergefreiter Klaus Weber found himself selected as captain of the Camp Pine Bluff team, a responsibility that seemed impossible given his status as an enemy prisoner. The tournament organization that American military authorities established included formal brackets, standardized rules, neutral officiating, and championship trophies that provided dignity and legitimacy to prisoner athletic competition. This systematic approach demonstrated American organizational capabilities and respect for prisoner welfare that exceeded basic Geneva Convention requirements while showcasing democratic administrative competence. The intercamp travel that tournament participation required included supervised transportation between facilities under security conditions that emphasized safety and respect rather than punishment and humiliation. German prisoners discovered American abundance in transportation capabilities while experiencing countryside landscapes that contradicted Nazi propaganda about democratic economic failure. The competitive preparation that teams undertook included strategic planning, tactical training, and fitness conditioning that provided structure and purpose that enhanced prisoner morale, while demonstrating trust in prisoner self-governance and collaborative decision-making. American officials encouraged prisoner initiative while maintaining security through cooperation rather than coercion. The cultural exchange that tournament competition facilitated included interactions between German prisoners from different military units who shared experiences about American treatment, family correspondence, and post-war planning. These conversations created networks of information that challenged Nazi ideology while supporting democratic values through positive example rather than political indoctrination. The American Guard participation in tournament activities included coaching assistance, transportation support, and enthusiastic spectator attendance that demonstrated genuine interest in prisoner welfare beyond basic security requirements. Guards who had initially viewed prisoners as dangerous enemies now supported their athletic achievements while maintaining professional responsibilities. The community involvement that soccer tournaments attracted included local civilian spectators, newspaper coverage, and civic organization support that demonstrated American confidence in democratic values and humanitarian treatment of enemy prisoners. These public displays contradicted German expectations about popular hatred while showcasing democratic tolerance and fair play. The championship final between Camp Pine Bluff and Camp Concordia, Kansas, took place before an audience of 2,000 spectators, including military officials, local dignitaries, and international Red Cross observers, who documented this unprecedented demonstration of sports diplomacy between former enemies who competed with intensity while maintaining mutual respect. The match result that saw Camp Pine Bluff defeat Camp Concordia 3-2 in overtime created celebration that included American guards congratulating German prisoners while maintaining security protocols that emphasized cooperation rather than subjugation. The victory provided legitimate pride and accomplishment that enhanced prisoner self-respect while demonstrating American fairness. The trophy presentation ceremony that concluded the tournament included speeches by American officials who praised prisoner sportsmanship and athletic achievement while emphasizing democratic values that recognized individual merit regardless of national origin or military status. These acknowledgments created emotional impact that challenged fundamental German assumptions about enemy character. The media coverage that tournament received included newspaper articles and radio broadcasts that portrayed German prisoners as individuals capable of rehabilitation and positive contribution rather than permanent enemies deserving only punishment. This humanization influenced American public opinion while providing German families with evidence of humanitarian treatment. The psychological impact that championship competition achieved included prisoner recognition that American society possessed organizational capabilities, material abundance, and humanitarian values that exceeded Nazi propaganda claims about democratic weakness and decadence. The tournament had become inadvertent demonstration of democratic superiority through positive example rather than coercive persuasion. The long-term implications that athletic success provided included enhanced prisoner cooperation with camp administration, increased participation in educational programs, and voluntary engagement with denazification activities that demonstrated how positive treatment could achieve rehabilitation objectives more effectively than punitive approaches. December 1943. As winter approached, and outdoor soccer became impossible. The athletic programs at Camp Pine Bluff evolved to include indoor sports, coaching clinics, and sports administration training that provided German prisoners with leadership opportunities that challenged their fundamental understanding of American society and democratic values. Klaus Weber found himself appointed as athletic director for prisoner recreational activities, a position that seemed impossible for an enemy captive. The leadership responsibilities that American officials assigned to German prisoners included organizing tournaments, managing equipment, and coordinating activities that required trust and collaborative decision-making. These roles demonstrated American confidence in prisoner rehabilitation while providing practical experience with democratic governance that contrasted sharply with authoritarian military structures. The coaching exchange programs that developed between guards and prisoners included technical instruction, tactical seminars, and athletic philosophy discussions that created mutual respect based on recognized expertise rather than military hierarchy. German prisoners taught European soccer traditions while learning American approaches to team sports that emphasized individual development within collective objectives. The educational opportunities that athletic programs provided included English language instruction through sports terminology, American cultural education through recreational traditions, and physical education certification that would enhance post-war employment prospects. These academic components demonstrated American investment in prisoner welfare that exceeded detention requirements. The psychological counseling that integrated with athletic activities included group therapy sessions, individual consultation, and mental health support that addressed combat trauma and captivity stress through recreational therapy. American medical personnel documented improvement in prisoner mental health that validated innovative treatment approaches. The work program integration that connected athletic achievement with vocational training created incentive systems that rewarded positive behavior while providing practical skills development. Prisoners who demonstrated leadership in sports received advanced training opportunities in agriculture, mechanics, and construction that would benefit post-war reconstruction. The correspondence programs that allowed prisoners to write home about athletic achievements provided German families with evidence of humane treatment that contradicted Nazi propaganda about American brutality. These letters created networks of information that influenced German civilian morale while demonstrating democratic humanitarian values through concrete evidence. The international inspection visits that athletic programs received included Red Cross officials, neutral diplomatic observers, and military personnel who documented innovative approaches to prisoner rehabilitation that exceeded international standards. These external validations provided credibility while influencing global discussions about humanitarian treatment. The cultural celebration events that combined athletics with German traditional holidays created opportunities for prisoners to maintain cultural identity while appreciating American tolerance and respect for enemy heritage. Christmas soccer matches and Oktoberfest tournaments demonstrated that democracy could accommodate cultural diversity. The post-war planning discussions that athletic programs facilitated included career counseling, educational opportunities, and reintegration preparation that addressed prisoner concerns about returning to defeated Germany. American officials provided realistic guidance about reconstruction challenges while emphasizing democratic alternatives to totalitarian governance. The friendship development that extended beyond athletics included personal relationships between guards and prisoners who discovered shared interests in family life, civilian careers, and personal aspirations that transcended national boundaries. These connections humanized conflict while creating foundations for post-war reconciliation. The administrative skills that prisoner athletic leadership developed included event organization, resource management, and conflict resolution that provided practical experience with democratic procedures and collaborative decision-making. These capabilities would prove valuable during post-war German reconstruction. The transformation documentation that American officials maintained included behavioral assessments, attitude surveys, and rehabilitation progress reports that validated athletic programs as effective tools for prisoner management and ideological conversion. The data supported expansion of recreational therapy throughout the POW system, while demonstrating that positive treatment achieved better outcomes than punitive approaches. May 1945. As news of Germany's surrender reached Camp Pine Bluff, Klaus Weber stood on the soccer field where he had discovered American humanity and democratic values that would influence the rest of his life. The man preparing for repatriation bore little resemblance to the bitter Wehrmacht veteran who had arrived 2 years earlier, expecting brutal treatment from enemy captors who had instead offered friendship through the beautiful game. The repatriation process that would return German prisoners to their homeland created mixed emotions among men who had experienced treatment that exceeded their most optimistic expectations while challenging everything they believed about enemy society. Many prisoners expressed genuine regret about leaving camps where they had discovered athletic achievement, personal respect, and humanitarian values. The farewell soccer match between German prisoners and American guards took place on a spring afternoon that embodied the spirit of reconciliation that athletic competition had achieved between former enemies. The game ended in a ceremonial tie, with players exchanging jerseys and addresses while planning post-war correspondence that would maintain friendships formed through shared sport. The testimonial letters that German prisoners wrote about their American treatment included detailed descriptions of soccer programs that had provided dignity, respect, and personal development opportunities that exceeded anything available in wartime Germany. These documents would influence post-war German attitudes toward democracy while supporting American diplomatic objectives. The athletic skills that prisoners had developed during captivity included not just soccer techniques, but coaching abilities, organizational capabilities, and leadership experience that would benefit German reconstruction efforts. Former prisoners would establish youth sports programs that promoted democratic values while maintaining cultural traditions. The English language proficiency that prisoners had acquired through athletic participation provided practical advantages for post-war careers, while enabling continued communication with American friends who had transformed their understanding of democratic society. These linguistic capabilities facilitated international cooperation and cultural exchange. The democratic principles that prisoners had learned through sports participation included fair play, collaborative decision-making, and respect for individual merit that would influence their roles in post-war German society. Athletic programs had provided practical education in democratic governance that formal denazification programs could never achieve. The international perspective that cultural exchange had provided enabled former prisoners to serve as bridges between German and American society during occupation and Reconstruction periods. Their understanding of American values and democratic principles facilitated cooperation while supporting peaceful transition to democratic governance. The networks of friendship that extended beyond athletics included ongoing correspondence between former guards and prisoners who maintained personal relationships that transcended national boundaries and political differences. These connections provided human foundations for post-war reconciliation and international cooperation. The psychological healing that recreational therapy had achieved helped former prisoners cope with combat trauma and guilt while preparing them for constructive roles in peaceful society. The soccer field had become a space for moral reflection and emotional recovery that exceeded purely custodial detention functions. The cultural transformation that athletic participation had facilitated included appreciation for American values, combined with maintained German identity that prepared prisoners for roles as advocates of democratic principles in post-war reconstruction. They would return home as living testimonies to democratic humanitarian treatment. The historical significance that Camp Pine Bluff's soccer program represented included proof that positive treatment could achieve rehabilitation objectives while maintaining security through cooperation rather than coercion. The athletic fields had become laboratories for democratic diplomacy that influenced international discussions about prisoner rights and humanitarian values. The legacy of compassion that transcended the final whistle would influence German-American relations for generations, proving that even in war's darkest hours, the beautiful game could build bridges between enemies and plant seeds of lasting peace. If this incredible story of how sports transformed enemies into friends amazed you, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more untold tales of humanity triumphing over hatred during World War II.